Hey guys, and welcome to another cup tutorial. I'm going to be making this black flame candle hocus pocus inspired tumbler. Ooh, that's a mouthful. I've seen this tumbler all over Pinterest and Facebook and everything like that, so I knew I had to give it a try. I'm going to start by showing you how I prep my cups. You can sand them with like an 80 grit sanding block, but I really like to use a Barkeeper's Friend. You can use the product Final Sand too, or really just any abrasive cleaner. You just want to make sure that you shake it up really well and then just apply it all over the cup. I'm using an abrasive sponge, the abrasive side of a sponge. You can use really fine steel wool or a scouring pad or anything like that. You're really just wanting to scuff up the cup to make sure that the paint and epoxy will really adhere to the stainless steel and get good adhesion. Here I'm showing you the difference in the sanded cup and the non-sanded cup. It's really kind of hard to tell on camera, but the cup on the left is much more scuffed up and kind of less shiny than the cup on the right. After I washed off my cleaner and dried it off really well, I sprayed it with a coat of Rust-Oleum 2-Time Ultra Matte white spray paint and just got good coverage on that. And now I'm going to apply the glitter with the Mod Podge method. I really would not advise using these silicone brushes. I was in a hurry. It was the closest thing. I thought it would be okay, but I really got uneven coverage with this. So stick to using, they make Mod Podge applicators that are actually really great, or any craft brush would be fine. This just, it leaves streaks in the Mod Podge and it's not the best way to apply it. The goal here is just to get the entire tumbler coated with the Mod Podge, and then I'm going to go in heavy-handed with my glitter since it's just a single color. I used the white Recollections glitter from Michaels, but I added a little bit of the color West Coast from Glitter Heart Company. I wanted kind of an off-white color, how a candle would sort of look, and this is just the mix that I came up with. I didn't mix quite enough though, so I am going back and forth a lot, pouring the glitter from the paper back into my tumbler. And again, I was struggling with the Mod Podge. It started to dry too fast. It was just a whole mess. Even Mod Podge coverage really is the key whenever you're using it, because if you don't, it's just going to turn out an uneven mess. And I did end up having to do another coat of glitter on top of this. Here I'm just tapping the bottom of the tumbler into the glitter on the paper. You just want to make sure that the tumbler is covered with glitter as evenly as possible. I let the first coat dry for about an hour to 2 hours, and then I went straight in with another coat of Mod Podge. The second coat of Mod Podge is a lot easier to work with because it doesn't dry as fast. You just want to make sure that you're kind of pressing it down in between the glitter so you cover all the spots that weren't covered before. And then it's just more of the same, adding the glitter really heavy-handed just to make sure you can get the best coverage possible. After I finally got good enough glitter coverage, I'm going straight in over the raw glitter with about 20 milliliters of KSResin. I didn't seal this or anything. I'm just putting it right on top, making sure to press it in all the spaces between the glitter. And I just want to add, anytime you're working with epoxy, you want to make sure you wear a respirator and gloves and all the proper PPE. These fumes can be toxic. They give off VOCs when it's curing, and you really just don't want to be inhaling this stuff. It's one extra step. Just add the extra protection to make sure that you're not hurting yourself in the long run. As always, once I got the cup fully covered, I just torched it to remove any bubbles. And this was actually my first time working with the KSResin liquidy split, and let me tell you, I am never going back. This stuff is amazing. I finished this whole cup in about a day and a half, which is unheard of for me. So after it dried, at about 3 or 4 hours later, I went ahead and cut it away from the turner arm. I just took my craft knife and ran it along the top part where the cup meets the arm and just broke away that epoxy layer. And once I got all the epoxy cut off, I sanded down the top for a really smooth finish. Now I'm applying the water slide before I add the drips to the top. And I got this image off of Etsy. I'll link it below. It showed up really well on this glitter color. I thought I was going to have to do a double layer to make it pop, but I really love the way it turned out. So you just let your water slide soak for about 45 seconds to a minute. You want to wet your surface that you're adding the water slide to, and then just put your image straight on and slide the backing off. Once again, I have some really stellar recording skills showing off right here, but I'm just pressing all the water out from underneath the image. You want to make sure everything is super dry, and then I'm going to go with a paper towel lightly on top, making sure not to smear it or move it around or anything. I'm just tapping the paper towel on the top of the image just to remove any excess water. Now starting on the drips, I'm using a high temp mini hot glue gun with some black hot glue sticks that I got off of Amazon, and just kind of learning as I go. This is the first time I've ever done this, so I just kind of went in first with a rough template of where I wanted the drips to be, and then I'm going to go back in more heavy-handed and add the longer drips and get the really good layout of how I want everything to look. This does use quite a bit of these mini glue sticks. I think I went through like 7 or 8. One thing I wish I would have done different is I wish I would have put the heat gun on these as I was adding the drips. I did go in after I was done and kind of melt everything together, but I think it would have been easier if I would have hit it with the heat gun while the glue was still warm. And here I am going over it with the heat gun just to kind of melt everything together, make it look more like actual candle drips instead of just a bunch of random stringy hot glue gun pieces on a tumbler. Really stellar camera skills here. I really think I have a future in film. And here I am going with another coat of about 15 to 20 milliliters of the KSResin liquidy split. I'm just making sure everything is kind of coated really well. The main goal of this layer is to seal the water slide, but I do want to get the drips in there pretty good and kind of even out the bottom of the tumbler where the glitter is still a little bit pokey. After that layer dried, about 3 or 4 hours later, I went around the top of my tumbler and just scraped off any excess epoxy, just really making sure the top was super smooth. And then I'm touching up any areas where the black wasn't as dark as it should have been and just kind of filling in some gaps with some regular acrylic paint. When I got the top looking how I wanted it to, I'm going to go around the bottom with a 120 grit sanding block and smooth out any remaining pokey areas and just make sure everything is as even and smooth as possible. Now for the final layer of epoxy. This is about 20 milliliters of the KSResin liquidy split. This fast set epoxy is kind of unique and then it can be used as a final coat. It has added UV protection and it dries super hard. They do specify on their website that this can be used as a final coat. Not all fast setting epoxy can, but just go and make sure everything is super smooth and evened out and getting good enough coverage on the top rim that none of the glue is hanging out of the epoxy or anything like that. Just ensuring that everything is super well covered. This is the final project and I could not be happier with how it turned out. I absolutely love it and I'm excited to try more different drip techniques on different tumblers. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. Please give it a big thumbs up if you liked it and subscribe for more tumbler videos. Thanks again. Bye.